Well, it's official. So, Gennady Golovkin will be defending his middleweight crowns against Martirosyan on May 5th at the StubHub Center in Carson, California, which I actually live close to. So, I'm debating whether I should go ahead and attend the fight because I'm very interested on what the undercard is going to look like. But the undercard will be, featuring Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. So he'll be making his return. Maybe, but I'll get into that in a second. But first things first, let's get into the fight here. I find this a bit bizarre because Martirosyan, who I believe was who I still believe, in my opinion, is a much better replacement than Spike O'Sullivan and Jaime Maguire. All right. But this pick right here has have a lot of fans livid. And not only that, there are some even ardent Triple G supporters who are livid over this selection of a opponent. Okay, Dan Rafael, who, by the way, I do respect on some occasions, but then again, I disagree with as well. He's an ardent Golovkin supporter. He ripped this fight apart when the news was circulating that this fight was going to be finalized, which is now official today. He called this raw sewage. That's how he described this fight. And what he means by that is that Vanez, all just due respect to Vanez is a world title challenger. He has fought on world level, but he is coming off a loss against Arislan Lara, and he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's never fought at middleweight. So this right here is another small guy that Golovkin is pulling up in weight to fight, okay? And it's funny, though, because a lot of people who were bigging up Triple G and calling him the best middleweight, the most dominant middleweight of all time, ripping Hagler, Robinson, and Hopkins, whatnot. Well, let's exclude Robinson, okay, for a second. Let's talk about Hagler and Hopkins. Ripped them apart from fighting small guys coming up in weight during their middleweight runs. And they went out and said that, hey, Triple G actually don't fight small guys. He will never do that. He fights real middleweights or bigger men. Well, that's not true. You have to understand, if you look at Golovkin's resume, half of the guys that he's beaten are small guys coming up who coming up in weight. All right, this all began with him fighting Kasiuma in 2011. By the way, the same guy that Martirosyan beat before Golovkin beat him. So Golovkin beat a leftover from Martirosyan. Okay, I just took a jab in there. So Golovkin has a history of doing this. And again, middleweights have always fought small guys coming up in weight. I understand that. But what I find laughable about this is that these are the same people who criticize Hagler and Hopkins for fighting small guys, but yet Golovkin has a history of doing this shit, and they won't say anything. Yeah, I wonder what they're going to say about this now and him fighting another small guy. I wonder what they're going to say. Of course they can't say anything. That's just a rhetorical question. Okay. But like I said, I'm not going to knock Golovkin for making this choice. But the fact is that I can understand from another perspective where fans are coming from here, because they expected a lot from Triple G, okay? He had this aura of being a destructive force. He's a guy who says, I'll fight anybody, anywhere. I don't care how big you are. I'll go up, I'll fight you. But yet he doesn't fight Ramirez, who threw his name in a hat. He didn't want to fight Andrade, who's the same people said who didn't deserve a shot. By the way, the same guy who actually beat Martirosyan, and yet they say Martirosyan deserves more of a shot at Golovkin than Andrade. Yeah, okay, that's very funny. Okay. And Deverchenko, who actually is a real middleweight, who's his IBF mandatory. And let's get to that in a second, because people are wondering about that situation. It appears the IBF won't sanction this fight, so that title will not be on the line. However, the IBF has elected not to strip Golovkin. Okay, fair enough. So at least he can keep his title, but he won't be walking into the ring with that title. Now, if he loses, which is a very long shot at this point, if he does loses, then what happens to his IBF title? Does he get to keep it like Lebedev was able to keep his WBA title when the WBA wouldn't sanction his fight against Muragasiev. I guess perhaps that's the same scenario, but we'll see about that. But yeah, it's official. I expect the Golovkin to walk through Martirosyan. I mean, it probably won't be easy initially because Martirosyan is a very, very tricky fighter. He's never been knocked out in his career, which we got to give him points for that. He's a very tricky fighter, but at the same time, this is a guy who's fought at light middleweight. He's never fought at middleweight before. All right, at least Andre actually fought at middleweight. At least he has one middleweight fight. In fact, let's look at Vanez's record. Let me just check and see if he's actually fought at middleweight at the beginning of his career. If he has, then yeah, I guess it's a journeyman. Obviously, that's what you're gonna fight in higher weights. So you're gonna fight up and down in weights. So when you're kind of moving, when you're trying to build a profile, I should say. Vanez. First name Vanez. Let's just say active. Alright, so he's not inactive. Why? I'm looking at BoxRec. So they say he's inactive. Well, they're gonna have to take that inactivity tag off his name. All right, so Vanez Martirosyan. Let's see here. You know what? Why am I having difficulty finding his name? Okay, give me a second, guys. All right. Okay. Alright, Vanez the Nightmare Martirosyan. Okay, so they had him inactive. That's the reason why I couldn't even find his name. So, if you look at his record, I know he's had 3 losses. He's never been KO'd in his losses. Okay, he's got a decent record, obviously. We all know that about Vanez. But my question is has he ever fought at middleweight when he, began his career? He fought once at 159. Or yeah, against Charles Howe. So I guess you could call that a middleweight fight. And then he's fought at 155, and his opponents are weighing in at 157, 156. So he's fought a little bit over that weight in the early stages of his career. But as far as fighting guys on world level, no, obviously he has never done that. So yeah, so basically this is going to be a I don't know, man. Like I said, a lot of people, like I said, Art Golovkin supporters are not happy about this. Some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. Because Derevyanchenko, in my opinion, should have been, in my opinion, that would have been a better choice. And it's funny, though, because people are going to say, well, he can't take on Derevyanchenko because that's short notice. Well, I mean, didn't Wilder take on Stavern on the short notice after Ortiz got popped for his blood pressure meds back in November? I know. Wilder fought Ortiz before. Fought Stavern before, so that was, he knew that style, so that's why it was a lot easier for him to go ahead and take that fight on short notice opposed to Martirosyan. I get that, but the core argument is that Canelo got popped in late March, okay? Golovkin from that time had at least 8 weeks to prepare to get that mandatory out the way because he knew that IBF mandatory was lingering and it was due. So, in my opinion, I think he should have taken that fight. But again, I'm not complaining about this one. Fair enough. But I could see the other fans' argument, looking at it from another perspective, why they're upset about this. Because again, Triple G had this aura and this mystique that I'll fight anybody anywhere. I don't care who you are. I want the best on world level. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, he's trying to preserve himself for that, or his team by that matter, are trying to preserve their fighter's health leading up to that Canelo rematch, because they're very confident that they're going to get that rematch. And Canelo will be cleared within a few months. So as long as they keep him active and keep him fresh, then he'll be prepared. So that way he doesn't look like he's aging any longer. But we should see, though, because to me, well, I'm not sure Martirosyan. If Martirosyan does make him look bad in there, which he could possibly do, then maybe his age, Triple G's age, is going to catch up to him. Because right now he's 36 years old, so he definitely doesn't have much time left. He's looking for that big payday. Then, many people expect him to lose to Canelo in the rematch. If he does lose, then that'd be it. So as I was saying, if he loses, if he more likely if he loses to Canelo in the rematch, then he may call it a career from there. Or if he beats him, he may call it a career. And there's another thing that's worth noting is that the WBC has mandated that the winner of Charlo versus Jamel, the winner of Jamel Charlo versus Hugo Centennial Jr. fight, the winner of that fight will be the mandatory challenger to Golovkin's WBC title. Now, this is not going to get any better for Golovkin. Now, if he, when he gets past Martirosyan, which I believe is a foregone conclusion in my opinion, and Charlo should get past this Centennial Jr., then how long would it take for the WBC to mandate that fight and order that fight? They could probably call it before the Canelo, during the Canelo suspension. So that would definitely put Triple G in a very, very difficult spot. Either he's going to have to pay the man step aside money to get that Canelo shot or whatever. So that's going to be a very, very interesting situation when that comes about. So again, Charles going to have to get past Centennial Jr. Golovkin, in my opinion, we already know he's good. This is a foregone conclusion with Martirosyan. So do I expect a knockout from Martirosyan? I think this is going to go to the distance. I know a lot of people are going to call me crazy for saying this. They say, why you say that, D? I was like, well, because, Martirosyan has been in there with with very tough competition. He hasn't been knocked out by neither one. But it is fair to say that Martirosyan hasn't been in there with a guy like Triple G, a style, a relentless pressure fighter like Triple G. So that, and who has a very good balance with it, putting the shots together. The one thing that Martirosyan could have in his favor is that Triple G his hand speed is pretty slow, man. He has very slow hands, and he's gonna have to take away his punching room. So yeah, that's all I got to say about this. Let me know what your thoughts about this.